What happens when a partnership that looks like a dream, especially in the high-stakes art world, just completely unravels? And not just unravels, but explodes into a $10 million legal fight.
Yeah, it's quite the question, isn't it? And that's exactly what we're digging into today.
We are. We're looking at this really explosive lawsuit filed by Racquel Chevremont against her ex-fiancé, the artist Mickalene Thomas, who's, globally celebrated.
It's a situation with some incredibly serious allegations floating around. We're talking, according to the sources, sexual harassment, major financial exploitation, and just a deep sense of betrayal.
Right. It sort of peels back the curtain on the glamorous art world.
Exactly. It contrasts that shine with a potentially much darker side that these claims, well, they threaten to expose.
And that's really our mission here for you today with this deep dive. We want to sift through the sources we have, pull out the most important insights about this case.
Trying to understand the layers, the power dynamics, the love, the control, especially when someone's personal and professional lives get so tangled up.
So tangled. Okay, let's try and unpack this really fascinating and honestly quite unsettling story for you.
Let's do it.
So for, over a decade, Racquel Chevremont and Mickalene Thomas were seen pretty much everywhere as the art world power couple.
Definitely. You had Racquel, a curator, sure.
Yeah.
But also known from TV, right? Real Housewives.
Yeah.
She brought this business savvy, this network.
And then Mickalene Thomas, the acclaimed artist. Her work is powerful, vibrant, gets huge attention in galleries, museums.
Everywhere. And our sources paint them as, unstoppable. It wasn't just love. It was shared projects, this big vision, especially about elevating underrepresented artists. They looked like this perfect unit.
A truly unified front.
But, and this is the crux of it from our sources, that public image is now being directly challenged. Chevremont's narrative paints a starkly different picture.
Right. Her lawsuit claims that this picture-perfect facade hid something much darker.
Yeah, for years, apparently. She's alleging a whole decade of harassment, feeling financially exploited, and then retaliation. And it all leads to this massive $10 million lawsuit.
It really forces you to look past the surface, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Makes you question what's really going on in some of these high-profile creative partnerships.
And it's key to grasp that Chevremont is saying this is way more than just a breakup gone bad.
Oh, for sure.
She positions her role as, fundamental, not just a supportive partner, but the quiet architect, she calls it. The strategist, the manager, the deal maker behind the scenes.
That's a really significant claim. It's not just emotional support she's talking about. It's concrete professional work.
Exactly. Can you elaborate a bit on the kinds of things she claims she did?
Well, yeah, the sources mention specifics. Chevremont asserts she was key in locking down major brand partnerships. Think big fashion houses, luxury brand stuff that really boosts an artist's commercial profile.
Okay, so big money deals.
Right. And also navigating tricky negotiations for museum shows, gallery exhibitions. Planning how the work is presented to get the most impact, the best critical reception.
So strategy as well as deal making.
Precisely. According to her account, this wasn't just helping out. It was like building the scaffolding for Thomas's career to climb higher and higher, making sure it really soared.
That's quite something. It makes you think, if that's true, how could that kind of work go, unacknowledged? Or unpaid, as she claims.
And that leads us straight into the financial exploitation allegations. Our sources detail Chevremont's side, that she poured years of work, her strategic thinking, her expertise into what she thought were joint ventures, only to have her contributions downplayed, minimized.
That sounds incredibly frustrating, if true.
It points to what some sources call this sort of economy of invisible labor, right? Especially in creative fields. Chevremont states a lot of her work wasn't paid at all.
Just unpaid labor.
That's the claim. And that profits from things they build together were allegedly siphoned off or just unfairly divided, leaving her without proper compensation or even recognition.
Wow.
It's a stark example, potentially, of how one partner's fame, their public identity, can overshadow, maybe even exploit, the essential but less visible work of the other person.
Makes you ask who really profits when only one name gets the spotlight.
Exactly.
So, okay, this partnership seemed so ideal from the outside. How did it get to this point? Let's trace it back.
Well, the sources say it started back in the early 2010s. They fell in love, got engaged, and like often happens, their lives, personal and professional, just merged completely.
It became totally intertwined, which can sound great, Love fueling the work, the ambition.
It can sound great,
Yeah.
and maybe it was for a while. But the sources highlight a real turning point. What's interesting is that even after they broke up personally in 2020, the professional side kept going.
Oh, really? So they were still working together after splitting up?
Yeah. Chevremont claims she was still managing projects, still involved. But this, she alleges, is when the whole dynamic shifted and became toxic.
How so?
She claims Thomas started pressuring her to get back together romantically.
Ah.
And when she refused, that's when Chevremont says she faced retaliation. Being excluded from projects she'd helped build, projects she felt she had a stake in.
So the personal rejection allegedly led to professional punishment.
That seems to be the core allegation there, a dangerous blurring of lines.
And this is where the sources really seem to kind of pull back the curtain on the power dynamics at play.
Definitely. Chevremont's central argument is that love and work were basically used against her.
Weaponized.
Weaponized, that's a strong word. How did she describe that happening?
She talks about this really coercive situation where big opportunities, think brand deals, major museum exhibitions, key connections, were essentially dangled like bait.
Like bargaining chips. Exactly, bargaining chips.
Yep.
The claim is these career-making opportunities were tied directly to her willingness to, well, to comply personally, to rekindle the romance.
That, if true, is a serious misuse of power.
Profound, yeah. It paints a picture where getting ahead professionally, accessing the art world's elite circles, depended on fulfilling personal demands.
Which the sources call coercive.
Understandably, it highlights how control can be masked by the glamour, the allure of the art world, and it raises big questions about consent, agency. How can you say no professionally if your intimate life is tied up in it? Especially if you're the less powerful partner.
The potential consequences are just too high.
Right. Severe professional repercussions.
So this whole case really pushes beyond just them, doesn't it? It makes you think about the bigger picture in creative industries.
Absolutely. It forces us to ask these systemic questions about how credit, money, and control actually operate. You know, when you see that one famous name.
You have to wonder who else is doing the work, the essential, maybe invisible work behind the scenes.
Who else is contributing strategically, financially, emotionally, but gets none of the public credit?
It's a question that definitely resonates beyond just the art world.
And our sources really push us to think about how hard it is to untangle the emotional from the financial when romance and business mix so deeply.
That blurring creates opportunities for potential exploitation.
Especially if there's a power imbalance. If one partner has much more public recognition, more market clout, it's not just about legality, it's about fairness, ethics.
What's truly equitable in these complex relationships?
Exactly.
And thinking about the lawsuit itself, the discovery process could be huge here.
Oh, potentially massive. Imagine the evidence that could surface. Emails, contracts, texts, financial records.
A whole decade of their lives together documented.
It could literally redraw the history of their partnership, showing a reality totally different from the public one. It could change how we see not just them, but how success is sometimes built in these high-pressure fields.
Right. So at the end of the day, our sources really frame this as more than a messy breakup.
Much more. It's a deep dive into power, into alleged exploitation, and frankly, the cost of staying silent when you feel your work, your identity, has been erased.
If these claims hold up, it forces the art world, maybe all creative fields, to really look at how personal relationships can become tools of control.
And how these celebrated legacies might sometimes be built on the foundation of someone else's unacknowledged work, someone left in the shadows.
It really comes back to that haunting question you mentioned earlier from the sources.
Yeah. When love funds a legacy, who really pays the price when it all falls apart? It lingers, doesn't it?
It really does. A powerful, resonant question. So this deep dive has really exposed that collision, hasn't it? Intimacy and ambition, personal ties, and professional stakes in the art world.
It definitely has.
Yeah.
And it raises these tough questions for all of us about fairness, about recognition, about the power dynamics that can operate just beneath the surface.
Yeah, and beyond just this specific high-profile case, it makes you think, doesn't it? How do we value contributions in any partnership? Romantic, professional, both.
Especially when it's not all spelled out in a contract. You know, the unspoken agreements, the assumptions of shared effort, shared value.
What happens when those break down, when those assumptions are shattered?
Exactly. Who bears the cost then? Who picks up the pieces when those unwritten rules are broken? It's definitely something to mull over long after we finish talking about this specific case.